Hello there everybody, Leo Wright, cartoonist extraordinaire of Leo Wright Studios here. I am a tutorial icon and you can check out my tutorial drawing videos on my social media pages. But here today, I have designed two very special drawing tutorials for you. You can pick which one you would like to do now. I hope you've all got your pens, pencils and colouring equipment at the ready. It's time to start another epic drawing tutorial. Now we're going to be drawing one of my all-time favourite animals, and I've drawn many llamas in my time because one of my main characters from my cartoons is Larry the llama and Alan the alpaca. But right now we're going to be drawing a brand new llama direct from my imagination. So, get a light pencil at the ready. I will be drawing in blue. This is just to separate it and make it easier for you to follow. So, it's time to start pressing very lightly as we get started. You're going to start by drawing a very simple circle. Don't make this too small. This is going to mark out where our llama's head is going to go. Going to draw a horizontal and a vertical line. This is going to mark out where his faces are. These lines are going to split it up into four very equal segments. Now, above the horizontal line, we're going to draw two big, cute, adorable eyes for the llama. And remember, the eyes are the keys to the soul. It's the most important part of any cartoon character. Now, I'm just going to draw two curved shapes upon the eyes, which are going to mark out the eyelids of our character. And just above those, we're going to add in the pupils. Now just below those two eyes, we're going to draw a nice cute squishy circle, which is going to be his nose. And from that nose, drawing a line, because all animals have a line from the nose down to the mouth. And then a nice big curvy smile. And from that smile, I'm going to add another curve. Yes, lots of circles and curves in this one. This is going to make his mouth look like an orange segment. And yet another curve goes inside this segment to mark out his tongue. You can shade in the top part of this mouth. Don't ever be afraid to use a rubber and clean up your lines as you go, like I am here. Now llamas have big chubby cheeks, so we're going to slightly mould the shape of the circle. As you can see I'm doing here, make them more curvy. All good cartoon characters have these very rounded cheeks. Just take a look at Mickey Mouse himself. And from those cheeks we're just going to bring it up to make a bit of a forehead for him and rub out those initial circle lines we made, because we need to try and keep the paper as clean and as understandable as possible for our own convenience when drawing. And just go over any bits. Remember, pressing very lightly. You don't want to be able to see these dodgy lines at the end. Just going to draw an eyebrow on each side. Those are very simple lines. But all llamas go to a very fancy hairdresser's, yes. So we're going to add some amazing hair. Now I'm going to make this llama have spiky hair, so it's going to look like we're drawing lots of blades of grass. So just going to bring up a straight line from those cheeks and add in some curvy hair. Doing amazing. Now, all llamas have freckles, of course. They like to suntan, so they get sun-kissed, so we're going to add 3 dots on each cheek. This is going to make him look more cheeky, more cute. Now to mark out the llama's body, we're going to mark it out in lots of little circles. We're going to use 5 circles. We're going to mark out how his neck is and how his body is. We're going to just picture this as 2 sausage shapes. So now I've drawn those simple circles, still pressing very lightly. I'm going to go over them and march out and mould the rest of his body. These are very simple shapes that can make a more complex character. Now you can rub out those circles, they were just there for our guidance when drawing him. Now I'm going to draw in the spindly legs. Now, what's more cute on a character than a big, chunky, fluffy body and having very thin, spindly legs? So just going to draw lots of little straight lines. Use a ruler if you want, marking out where the legs are going to go. And not to forget, this is an animal. Most animals have a tail. So you're going to almost draw on a pom-pom squishy tail. Now, as a cartoonist, we love to humanise a character, so I'm going to give this character a tie and a collar. Because I've decided this llama comes from the houses of farmland on his farm and is the Prime Minister of his farm that he lives on. Now I'm going to draw some stripes on the tie. You can decorate him any way you wish. Don't restrict yourself to a tie. You could make him a disco llama, a spaceman llama, a farmer llama. What's your drama llama? Okay, now that is looking very much complete on the pencil side of things. So I'm going to start inking it. Now for this, I recommend you get a medium-sized thickness of pen, possibly a slightly thinner one to draw in the facial features, but we do not want to go too thin. It will look scraggly and scrawny. You should take the most time with this, filling in any of the black areas of this llama in with solid ink. Don't colour any black area in with your pencil or pencil crayons at the end. We fill it in with solid ink. Another top tip for you is when drawing the facial expression, don't be afraid to have a mirror in front of you and draw and look at your face for reference. Look at those eyebrows, look at the mouth expressions, look at the eyes. Remember to go very slow on the inking process, because unless you're drawing digitally, it's completely irreversible. And there you have it. Get your rubber at the ready. It's time to erase those manky pencil marks. Don't be afraid to add any little details in with your pen. I'm just adding in a bit of volume to the fluff. It's time to go in to this llama now with your colouring in materials. I'm going to use some digital watercolours. You can use anything you wish. We're not just going to use one solid colour, we're going to add depth with different shades of each colour. So if you do have lots of pencil crayons or lots of felt tips, then go for it. So you can colour your llama in any colour you wish. So I'm going to use a nice brown for the body. You will find colouring in and drawing will really improve your mental state of mind. It's very useful for being mindful and escaping the world. The very magical thing about cartoon characters that you've created is the fact you've created them. Whether you like it or not, they're all an asset of you. They've all come from your mind. It's a world that you can control. In the worlds of these cartoon characters, you are the king, the ruler of their world. Now I'm going to go over that brown we've just done with a slightly darker brown that's going to add some depth in. I'm going to particularly go around the black outline of this llama. It's going to just add in some shadows. Make him feel more three-dimensional. For his legs and his face, I'm going to use a different shade of brown altogether. This is just going to separate his face. I'm going to use more of a paler skinned colour for this. You know, I think that's a bit strange on a cartoon animal, to give him the colour of a pale skin. But it's not at all. Mickey Mouse is a mouse, and he's got pale skin. To use a very dark brown for his nose. Normally the darkest part of an animal can be its nose. I'm going to draw his eyelids in blue, and his tongue is going to obviously be a nice shade of red. And his tie, I'm just going to go all out with green and red, contrasting colours there. It'll look really ugly. I'm just going to add in a bit of colour to this drawing because I want to. I'm not going to have any outline to this background because it will make the black ink really stand off the page. I'm just going to use a bit of green down at the bottom, which you can imagine will be grass. And blue everywhere else, leaving a bit of white here and there to mark out where clouds and the sky will be. Now, we have completed our drawing, but no drawing is ever complete without getting your inking pen back at the ready, because every drawing needs to be signed. So get your pen at the ready. It's time to sign it. And there you have it. You have created your very own beautiful llama. Give it a name. I'm calling mine Gazza. That concludes today's drawing tutorial. In the meantime, keep doodling. Today we're going to be drawing a magical unicorn. To start with, get a very light pencil at the ready. We're going to press very lightly on the paper as we're going to be going over it in ink later. So as always, I start by drawing a very simple circle. Make it very sketchy and light. This this is going to be the unicorn's head. So we're going to draw a horizontal line and a vertical line splitting the circle up into 4 pieces. Now the reason for this is going to mark out where his eyes, nose and mouth are going to go. So just above that centre line, I'm going to draw 2 teeny weeny circles. These are going to be the eyes. And then we're just going to draw 2 little pupils, 2 very small ovular shapes just above. And now, from where the 2 horizontal lines meet the end of the circle, we're going to bring it down. This is going to be the elongated booth of a mouth. Like so. Where we've just drawn the nose, we're going to do some little love hearts as nostrils because unicorns spread love and magic to all. Just do 2 hearts like this. That looks beautiful. Now you're going to draw a mouth on the side. We're going to do this in a very like Shaun the Sheep fashion, it's just poking out the end. Like a sausage shape. Now we're going to draw a mini sausage within the big sausage. So that's his lips and his mouth. You can just shade in the smaller sausage in black. Okay. Now we're going to draw the unicorn's ears. All the better to hear you with. These are shaped like leaves. Kind of half circle, half triangle. And now he's got a mighty booth on the top of his head. Yes, it's the unicorn's mane. Remember, don't shade this in because we're going to colour it in loads of sparkly colours later. For this, just draw lots of curvy, spiky lines. And there we have the face of our beautiful unicorn. Now for the body. We're going to be drawing a peanut-shaped body, but it's not going to be as small as a peanut. It's going to be one big peanut. So, draw this like so. Kind of an archy, jelly bean peanut shape. I'm going to just draw one line going down just to mark the centre point of his body because he's standing at a bit of an angle. Now just draw the guidelines I'm drawing. This is going to mark out where his legs and his arms are going. You're going to have one hand on his hip, like so. And we're going to have one arm coming round, almost like half a coat hanger, and he's going to be sipping a cup of Costa coffee. So these are called guidelines. Press very lightly. We're going to be now adding a bit of extra detail in before we head on over to inking. I'm just going to use a darker colour pen for the sake of you being able to see what I'm doing very clearly. But don't press any harder. As you can see, I'm just using those guidelines and making them chunky. Just going to add on that hoof. And add in the Costa coffee cup. It's actually hot chocolate, I don't like coffee. I'm just going to add a bit of smoke coming out of the cup, you know, because coffee can be boiling. And just adding 2 kind of sausage shapes down the bottom where his legs are going. Right, we've forgotten one very important thing on the top of all unicorns, and that's their horn. It's a very simple triangle shape with spirals on, like a helter-skelter. Right, we've now got all the basic parts of our unicorn down on paper. It's now time to get the inking ready. So, I would suggest you get some black ink, whether it be a Sharpie, a Pro Marker, a marker pen, but make sure you don't like lean on your best tray or something. So we're now going to start going over our very light pencil marks into the deep dark depths of the ink. You want a medium-sized thickness for your ink pen. Because if it's too light, like a biro, it'll look scratchy and amateurish. But if you use a really chunky pen, then you're going to miss out on all those little bits of detail. Remember, you can't rub out an ink pen. You've only got one shot at this. The inking stage should be the stage that takes the absolute longest, because if you get the inking wrong, the overall image will not quite look right at the end. Now it's time to add a few fun little add-ons. We're going to add on a tail like a slithery snake and add a bit of spikiness to the end. This unicorn has a lot of style, like me. He wears a bow tie. Now it's time to get that eraser at the ready, because we're going to rub out those pencil lines. Oof, I can do it just like that. Now it's time to get some colouring equipment at the ready. It's time to get colouring. So, what do I recommend you use for colouring? I would personally go down the lines of paint or ink. Now, ink can come in the form of a pen, so if you do want some decent pens, I suggest Pro Markers, because they don't leave any of those scratchy, fluffy lines that felt tips make. But for the purpose of this, because I'm drawing digitally for you guys, I'm going to use some digital watercolours. Now, just because he's a cartoon character, just because he's a little cartoon unicorn, does not mean we cannot add shading to him to make him feel more three-dimensional. I'm doing it in blue because grey does not match the personality of this unicorn. I'm going to add in a bit of red for the nostrils because they love hearts. And red is the colour of love. His mane is going to be multicoloured. So just plonk a bit of each colour we use on there. So I'm going to just put the primary colours in, blue, red and yellow. Because that's the way unicorns rock. The horn, I'm going to do purple. Eyelids, I'll do blue. You can colour these in any way you wish. His hoofs are going to be grey. Even a unicorn has a grey hoof. His tail is also going to be all the primary colours. So we didn't need that much colour for a unicorn, because when you think of a unicorn, you think of its white fur. So we've done half the colouring in already by selecting a white piece of paper. But what I normally do with a drawing is I'll add a bit of colour to the background to add a bit of depth. I'm going to use a nice orange for the background of this unicorn. Now I'm only going to shade him on the one side to almost act as if it's a shadow. This will bring the unicorn forward off the page. And there we have it. But no piece of artwork is complete. Not a single piece on earth is complete. And this is the thing that will make your artwork worth millions of pounds in the future. It's time to sign it! So go back to your ink pen and do as I just said. And there you have it. You're almost as magical as the unicorn we've just drawn. Splendid job, everybody. Remember, keep doodling. Hello, welcome to Handy Hints with me, Leo Wright. This is going to improve any artwork you do, whether it be the tutorials on this page or any other drawing you will ever do in your life. You need to draw always lightly in a pencil first. Never ever go straight into a pen. I suggest using a 2H pencil due to it being a very light graphite. And then work your way into it with a pen afterwards. You should always draw guidelines even lighter than the lines you know you're going to see in the finished product. Yes. So always break things down into simple shapes. So I will always start off with a face by just drawing a circle. But you must bear in mind my face isn't circular shaped. So you're going to add bits to that circle using the guidelines by splitting the face up, and it will always make your picture better. This goes for bodies as well. I break everything up into ovals, into circles and sausage shapes. You can basically make any character out of all the shapes you'd find on a full English breakfast. And I highly recommend when colouring in, you always start with your lightest possible colour first, because colours don't rub out. So I'd always start by drawing say if you're drawing in something that's blue, like a blue ball, start by adding the very lightest layer first, then building it up. And you can do something called cross-hatching, which is drawing lines in two different directions. This will add depth and make it feel more three-dimensional. And I suggest when drawing in ink, use different size thicknesses of pens, but chuck out the thin pens out the window because they look scrawny and scruffy. Whereas the thicker pens almost disguise those little wobbly moments your hands have. Because when you're drawing, occasionally you might shake, or occasionally your dog might bark and scare the living daylight out of you. But if you draw with a thick pen, it disguises that because it's so thick. But bear in mind, vary the size of the pens about, because the facial features, you might want a slightly thinner pen to get the details in. Those were Handy Hints with me. Enjoy.